Sweat beaded on Kai's forehead as he stared at the eviction notice pinned to his dilapidated apartment door. Rent was overdue, again asterisk, and his landlord's patience had finally run out. His stomach growled, a hollow echo of the gnawing emptiness that had become a constant companion. He hadn't eaten a proper meal in days, subsisting on cheap instant noodles and the occasional discarded crust of bread. He glanced around the cramped, cluttered room. His most prized possession, his high-end gaming rig, sat in the corner, its glow a stark contrast to the gloom of his surroundings. It was the only thing he had left from his old life, a life that now seemed a distant, almost dreamlike memory. A bitter taste filled his mouth as he thought of his family. They wouldn't understand. They never understood. Their faces, etched with disappointment and disapproval, flashed through his mind. Get a real job, Kai, his father had said, his voice laced with exasperation. Stop wasting your life on those games. His mother's eyes, usually filled with warmth, had held a mixture of pity and shame. We just want what's best for you, she'd pleaded. Best for me, Kai muttered to himself, the words catching in his throat. Their best was a life of quiet desperation, a soul-crushing 9-to-5 job he hated, a life devoid of passion and excitement. He wasn't a gaming prodigy, not like the geniuses everyone talked about. He was just average. Dedicated, sure, but average. He knew game mechanics, understood basic strategies, but he lacked the lightning-fast reflexes, the finely honed techniques, the almost preternatural awareness of the top players. His passion, however, was gaming. He knew he could make something of it. The Realms wasn't just a game, it was the game. The most popular and influential game in the world. A massive virtual world with complex storylines, challenging dungeons, and powerful world bosses. A game where fortunes were made, legends were born, and even top companies paid attention. A game where, maybe, just maybe, he could prove himself. He remembered the final, devastating argument, the words like shards of glass piercing his heart. You're a disgrace, his father had roared, his face contorted with anger. We're done with you. Don't come back. His mother had stood by silently, tears streaming down her face, unable to intervene. They'd cut him off completely, both emotionally and financially. He was on his own. He'd scraped by for the past few months, taking odd jobs, living in cheap, run-down apartments, all while clinging to his dream. The dream of making it big in the Realms. He'd heard whispers of players making real money through in-game achievements, selling rare items, even participating in sponsored esports tournaments. It was a long shot, he knew. The geniuses, those almost mythical figures who could solo content meant for full teams, they were the ones who dominated the game. He was nowhere near their level. Getting into the Realms wasn't easy. Invitations were highly sought after, reserved for the elite, the talented, the connected. He'd spent weeks trying to find a way in, scouring forums, contacting players, entering contests. He'd even tried to sneak into gaming conventions, hoping to catch a glimpse of the genius players, the icons who had made the Realms their domain. Finally, he'd found an opportunity, a small, obscure tournament sponsored by a lesser-known tech company. The prize, an invitation to the Realms. It was a long shot, but it was his only shot. He'd practiced day and night, honing his skills, studying strategies, pushing himself to the limit. He knew he was still average, but he was determined to improve. He'd even started watching videos of the geniuses play, trying to glean any insights he could. The tournament had been brutal, a gauntlet of skilled players, each as desperate as he was. He'd fought his way through, match after match, fueled by his burning desire to prove his family wrong. And in the end, he'd won. The invitation, a sleek, metallic card, was now clutched tightly in his hand, his ticket to a new life. But that wasn't all. As the tournament officials presented him with the trophy, a small, almost imperceptible shimmer caught his eye. It was on the base of the trophy, a faint inscription hidden beneath a layer of dust. Curiosity piqued. He subtly ran his fingers over the inscription, feeling a series of raised symbols. After the ceremony, while the other competitors celebrated, Kai quietly excused himself, taking the trophy with him. Back in his small, rented room, he examined the trophy closely. He recognized the symbols. They were an ancient, almost forgotten language he'd once studied out of fascination. Translating them, he discovered a hidden message, a riddle that hinted at a secret prize for the tournament winner, a prize beyond the invitation itself. Listen, and the whispers will guide you. A hidden class awaits, for those who are worthy. Asterisk. He knew, instinctively, That this scroll was more than just a prize. It was a key, a guide, something that would give him an edge in the realms. It was a secret, a hidden advantage, a reward for his curiosity and his keen eye for detail. It even hinted at a hidden class. Tonight, he would enter the realms, invitation in one hand, the scroll of whispers tucked safely away. Tonight, his journey would begin. He looked at his gaming rig, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. He might be down, but he was far from out. He would show them all. He would become the best. He would become a legend. Kai took a deep breath, the metallic card and the rolled-up scroll of whispers both nestled securely in his pockets. He inserted the invitation card into the designated slot on his gaming rig. A low hum emanated from the machine as it processed the invitation, the screen before him swirling and dissolving into a vortex of vibrant colors, pulling him into the digital world. He found himself standing in a bustling virtual plaza, the starting area for all new players in the realms. The air crackled with the digital chatter of hundreds of avatars, humans, elves, dwarves, and other fantastical races milling about, their appearances customizable down to the smallest detail. It was overwhelming. He'd played online games before, but nothing on this scale. The sheer number of players, the vibrant detail of the world, it was like stepping into another reality. Kai's avatar, a slightly idealized version of himself, wore simple, starting level clothes. He had no fancy gear, no powerful weapons, just the basic equipment provided to all newcomers. He was starting from scratch, just like everyone else. But unlike the others, he carried the weight of his past and the burning desire to prove his family wrong. And he had the scroll of whispers, a secret advantage that could change everything. He opened his in-game menu, familiarizing himself with the interface. He checked his stats, his inventory, his quest log. Everything was basic, unremarkable. He needed to earn experience, level up, acquire better gear. He needed to become stronger. He glanced at the scroll of whispers icon in his inventory. Secrets lie within, unseen by common eyes. The path unfolds for those who dare to seek. Listen, and the whispers will guide you. A hidden class awaits, for those who are worthy. He remembered the voice whispering in his mind as he first read the scroll. He had a feeling that it was more than just words. He remembered the whispers he'd heard about the Tower of Trials, a 100-story dungeon filled with powerful monsters and incredible rewards. He'd assumed he could just head there and start climbing. But as he looked around the starting area, he saw no obvious entrance. Confused, he touched the scroll of whispers icon. The scroll shimmered, and a map of the starting area appeared. But instead of a path to the tower, it highlighted a different icon, a swirling, ethereal portal. The description read, "Entrance to the Tower of Trials exclusive." Relief washed over him. The tower was accessible. It was his exclusive domain. He touched the portal icon, and a shimmering gateway opened before him. He could step through and begin his ascent. But then he paused. He glanced at his quest log. The first steps. The quest marker pointed towards the Adventurers Guild. He remembered the whispers he'd heard about the geniuses, about their incredible gear and high levels. They were out in the world, completing quests, defeating bosses, becoming legends in their own right. He sighed. He couldn't just abandon the world and focus solely on the tower, not yet. He was an average gamer, remember. He needed experience, skills, gear. He needed to learn the game, the real game. He found the Adventurers Guild, a large, bustling building filled with players accepting quests, forming parties, and trading information. It was chaotic, overwhelming. He approached the guild master, a gruff-looking dwarf with a booming voice. "Welcome, adventurer. Looking for work?" The dwarf boomed. "Yes," Kai replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "I'm new here, and I'm looking for my first quest." The dwarf chuckled. "Well, you've come to the right place. We've got plenty of tasks for fresh recruits. How about clearing out the goblin infestation in the nearby Whispering Woods? It's a classic for beginners." Kai accepted the quest, a little disappointed. Goblins. He'd fought goblins in 100 different games. This was basic, entry-level stuff. But he needed the experience, and he needed to level up. "I heard she's already completed the main storyline," a third player whispered. Kai's ears perked up. Anya, one of the geniuses. She was out here, in the world, achieving incredible feats. He watched them for a moment, observing their movements, their strategies. They were fluid, precise, almost effortless. He realized how much he had to learn. These geniuses weren't wasting their time in the Tower of Trials yet. They were pushing the boundaries of the virtual world, completing the toughest content, earning the most prestigious titles. He sighed. He had a long way to go. He was just an average gamer, starting from the bottom. But he had the Scroll of Whispers, and he had a hidden class waiting to be unlocked. He had a chance, a slim one, but a chance nonetheless. He would learn from these geniuses, adapt their techniques, and forge his own path. He would climb that tower, even if he had to grind his way there first, even if he had to compete with the best in the world. He headed towards the Whispering Woods, his initial disappointment replaced by renewed determination. He had a quest to complete, and he had a long journey ahead of him. He was ready to start.